When we think of ancient Israel's greatest leaders, we remember Moses, the prophet who delivered them from slavery in Egypt and led them through the wilderness for 40 years. But what if I told you that right beside Moses for most of this journey was another man? A man whose faithfulness and courage made him a hero of Israel and a pivotal figure in their early history? This is the story of Joshua, son of Nun, one of the most important figures of the Old Testament and the first leader of the nation of Israel. But why should you care about this old story? Because Joshua's life has lessons for us still today. He shows us what it means to be faithful, courageous, and a good leader. So come along as we explore the amazing story of Joshua and see how it can inspire us to become better people. Our story begins thousands of years ago in Egypt, where a Hebrew slave named Amram and his wife Jochebed had a baby boy whom they named Joshua. Little did they know that God had big plans for their son. You see, at this time the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt, and their future looked pretty bleak. But God had chosen Moses to be his prophet and deliver the Israelites from slavery, and Moses' brother Aaron was going to help him. One day, while everyone was gathered together, Moses took a stick and smote the water of the river, turning it into blood. Then he took his brother's staff and cast it down before Pharaoh, and lo, it became a serpent. With these two miracles, God showed Pharaoh that he was powerful enough to defeat even the gods of Egypt. So Pharaoh let the Israelites go. They left Egypt and traveled through the wilderness towards Canaan. Now, when they left Egypt, they weren't alone. Some Egyptians went with them, including one man named Joshua. You see, Joshua was the adopted son of the priest of Midian, Jethro, and he became Moses' adopted son too. But when the Israelites saw all the miracles that God performed, they changed their minds and wanted to go back to slavery in Egypt. However, Joshua and Caleb said no. They encouraged the people not to be afraid because God would protect them and help them win the land of Canaan. But sadly, the people didn't listen to Joshua and Caleb, and God got really mad. To punish them, he said that none of the people who had complained would enter Canaan except for Caleb and Joshua. Instead, God would make them wander in the wilderness for 40 years until an entire new generation of Israelites who had never doubted God grew up and replaced them. So the Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years, and during that time, Joshua served God faithfully and became a great leader. He led the Israelites in battles against many enemies like the Amalekites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites. In the very first battle against the Amalekites, Moses told Joshua to fight against them while he climbed up a nearby mountain. While standing on the mountain, Moses raised his hands up in the air, and the Israelites were winning. But whenever Moses lowered his hands, the Amalekites started winning. So Joshua needed to keep telling Moses to raise his hands up again. Eventually, the Israelites won the battle, and they celebrated by setting up a stone monument to commemorate their victory. But Joshua and Caleb kept looking at the land across the Jordan River, and they wished they could already go in and conquer it. Then God said to Joshua, "You are only 40 years old, son of Nun. Today you shall pass through the territory of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. You shall divide it by lot for an inheritance among them." So Joshua and Caleb went to the city of Shechem in the region of Canaan and set up camp near the city. There they met with the leaders of the other tribes and divided the land among them by lot. But despite receiving so much land, the Israelites did not immediately conquer it. You see, The people refused to trust God, and they were scared of the Canaanite kings, so they wouldn't attack. It wasn't until God promised to help them that they finally agreed to move forward. After crossing the Jordan River, Israel camped at Gilgal, where Joshua celebrated Passover for the first time since leaving Egypt. Then he built an altar to remember God and renewed the covenant between God and the people. After that, the Israelites went to Jericho, a large and important city in Canaan. And here, Joshua showed his leadership skills by helping Israel take the city. You see, God had already decided that Jericho and its king would be defeated, but he wanted to show his power in a special way. So he told Joshua to have 12 men march around the city walls once every day for 6 days. On the 7th day, they would march 7 times and shout, and then the walls would fall down. So that's exactly what they did. And when the people shouted on the 7th day, the walls collapsed, and they easily took the city. This victory showed the world that God was truly with Israel, and that Joshua was a strong and smart leader. After taking Jericho, Joshua continued to lead Israel in defeating more enemies and conquering Canaan. He also helped the Israelites settle into their new land and divide it among the different tribes. He chose leaders for each tribe, made laws for them to follow, and reminded them to always remember what God had done for them. Throughout his life, Joshua never forgot that God had chosen him to lead the Israelites. He always put God first in everything he did, and he knew that without God's help, they couldn't have won any battles or taken any cities. But what makes Joshua's story even more amazing is that he faced many challenges and obstacles, just like us. For example, when the people complained about the food and water in the desert, he encouraged them to trust in God. When they were scared to fight against bigger and stronger enemies, he reminded them of all the miracles God had done for them in the past. And when they started to forget God, he led them in worshiping and thanking God for all he had done for them. The book of Joshua tells us about all the amazing things that happened after Moses died. It tells us about how Joshua led the Israelites and became a great leader. But the most important thing we learn from the story of Joshua is that God can use anyone to do his work. He didn't choose Joshua because he was the strongest or smartest person around. He chose Joshua because he was faithful and listened to God's instructions. This gives us hope that if we put our trust in God and follow his instructions, then he can use us to do something great. Now, you might be wondering what this means for you today. Well, first, it means that we should never stop believing in God, no matter how difficult things may seem. Remember, the Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years, but Joshua never gave up on God. Second, it reminds us to be brave and face our fears head on. We will encounter many challenges in life, just like Joshua and the Israelites did. But with God on our side, we can overcome any obstacle. Finally, it encourages us to be good leaders. We don't need to be kings or presidents to be good leaders. We can start by being good friends, classmates, or co-workers. By being honest, kind, and helpful to those around us, we can become great leaders. So the next time you read the story of Joshua, remember that it is not just an old story from the Bible. It is a story that teaches us valuable lessons about faith, courage, and leadership. Let us take inspiration from Joshua and strive to be better people. And as we end this video, let us look at some of the amazing things that Joshua accomplished. He led Israel to victory in many battles. He helped the Israelites conquer the land of Canaan. He divided the land among the different tribes. He chose leaders for each tribe. He made laws for the Israelites to follow. He reminded the Israelites to always remember God. But perhaps the most important thing that Joshua did was to remain faithful to God no matter what. He never gave up on God even when the people around him did. He knew that God was with him, and he trusted in God's plan for him. So what can we learn from Joshua? How can we apply his example to our own lives? First, let us remember that God can use anyone to do his work. We don't need to be perfect or have everything together to follow God's plan for us. All we need is a willingness to serve God and a desire to do his will. Second, let us be inspired by Joshua's bravery. He faced many challenges and obstacles, but he never backed down from doing what he knew was right. He trusted in God's promises and followed God's instructions. And we can do the same thing. Whenever we face challenges in our life, let us remember that God is with us, and that we can overcome any obstacle by trusting in God and following his word. Finally, let us learn from Joshua's leadership. He was not the strongest or smartest person around, but he was faithful and obedient to God, and that made him a great leader. So let us strive to be good leaders in our own little ways. Let us be honest, kind, and helpful to those around us. And let us never forget to put God first in everything we do. Remember, my friends, that you are all amazing and unique individuals. Never give up on your dreams and always believe in yourself. God has a plan for each one of you, and you can accomplish anything if you put your mind to it. So keep trying, keep believing, and keep being awesome. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.